Welcome everybody back to the Breakdown Podcast YouTube channel. My name's Corey, and in this video we are going to be talking episode 2 of Superman and Lois. But first, let me introduce to you my co-host in crime, Victor.
Miller King 5-1. I almost thought you were about to just completely forget about me for a second.
Nah, not yet. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How are you today?
I am here. We just got finished watching episode 2. By we, I mean me. And I'm sure he watched it earlier in the week.
I definitely
We are
did.
going to talk. We're going to talk this episode 2 of Superman and Lois. But first, before we do want to let you know, we do our show live, 7 p.m.-ish Eastern on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/MillerKing_51. The link is in the description below. We do that on Tuesdays where we talk movies, we talk TV shows, we talk video games. Sometimes music sneaks in there sometimes as well too. But come by, check us out, join the chat. You can be part of the conversation, and we'd love to see you. If you can't watch us, you can also stream us. That's listen to it audibly. That's on Spotify. It's also on Google Play, and it's on Apple Podcasts. Just search the Breakdown Podcasts. And while you're here, one last thing. Please hit the subscribe button down below. It's that big red button. Yeah, if you'd hit that, give us a thumbs up, and hit the little
ding
bell.
that bell.
Ding the bell.
Ring
and
the
you can be alerted to whenever we upload new episodes.
Ring the bell.
Okay. Don't want to get us DMCA'd, so we'll just go on from there. Vic, what did you think about episode 2?
I think that it's a stable show so far. And the reason why I say a stable show so far is because these shows on the CW have a tendency to just go into a weird direction out of nowhere. Come the second episode in, like, the story is pretty stable. Like, it seems like it's going in a good direction. We have 3 main stories that are happening all at once. Obviously, you have your different plot lines. Obviously, the main plot line being the relationship between Superman and his boys. The secondary plot line being Lois versus the world, in my opinion. And the third plot line being Superman versus Captain Luthor. So with those things in mind, let's break down this episode.
All right.
Let's start out with Superman and the boys. Jonathan and Superman are not Jonathan. Jonathan is Jordan. Jordan and Superman are going off to the Fortress of Solitude for Superboy training, while Jordan heads off to Smallville High School for some ass-kicking training.
Yeah, I think you said the other one was named Jordan, but Jonathan is the one that ends up going as the star football.
Jonathan and Jordan's the other
quarterback.
One. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and he is since they all moved to Smallville, they're going to a new school. And he was going to continue to play football, but they decided, we don't think so. So he never got the playbook, so he doesn't know any plays.
They didn't. The other teammates decided not to.
Right.
That he wasn't going to be
that's
able
what
to.
I mean.
And they also decided that because of the antics and actions of his twin brother, that they were going to basically make his life hell day one. And that's what they proceed to do as he's just a new kid in a new school, and all he wants to do is fit in and play some football, and these guys are just like, it ain't happening.
Yeah, he's a little mad. He's a little mad at his brother, but he knows it's not his fault, so he doesn't really hold it against him, which I'm glad they didn't push that, because shows tend to continually push that. I'm mad at you, this is all your fault that I have to go through all this, and then they bring out the storyline where the two of them end up splitting, they end up hating each other, and then one is probably like the evil one, while the other one's the good one. So far, I'm glad they're not going down that route.
They have stuck to, even though they get mad at each other during the episode, before the episode ends, they come to the understanding of where each other's coming from, and I think that's kind of a fresh feel for the way they do these things, because in a lot of these CW shows, they have these little things that they just don't tell anybody about, or they don't talk about, and it ends up causing this strife, but they don't seem to be doing that with these two. And I feel like them working, the two of them, as it's us against the world, even though we're not completely equal, is working out pretty well. So he takes Jordan to the Fortress of Solitude. He introduces him to his grandfather, Jor-El, who Jordan is named after. I was like, okay, yeah, I guess that works. So it's Jordan, Jor-El. I mean, I think he could have come up with some, like, they should have Krypton names. Like their middle name should be something Kryptonian.
They could have just made his name Jor-El, Jorel.
Right. And then he could have been John L. Instead of Jonathan. But the naming convention, they would have been like, where the fuck? That's so weird. Why would you do that?
Yeah. Even, nowadays, there's all sort of people are already taking existing names and, adding letters that don't even make sense to make it a name. It's like, what? I saw one, somebody had named their kid Lamangelo. You want to know why?
Because they like orange Jello.
No, they like lemon Jello.
Oh.
And so they named the kid Lamangelo.
Lamangelo.
Yeah. So I mean, why not? Why can't
Thanks,
it be
Mom.
Jorel?
Yeah, that's true.
Jorel.
So in his, he takes him. He kind of explains to him. He's like, "Hey, this is a secret place that you can learn." He's like, "I had to learn the hard way how to deal with the abilities that I had, but at least this way I can help you learn how to cope with what you're going through." He puts the crystal in, which if I remember correctly, that crystal was always clear, but in this it's blood red. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Contrast considering the darkness of the room, but he inserts it in, and if I remember correctly, if you remember,
I want to say in one of the versions there were different colored crystals. But I don't know which one and what they did.
But in Smallville, this is all based off after, kind of very loosely based after, they had a crystal that had the House of L symbol in it that pressed into that plinth, and that's what started everything up. But either way, he goes through. He kind of explains to him what happened. He learns the history of their planet. How Krypton came to be destroyed. We see the capsule fly between him and Jordan off into its journey towards Earth, and he gives him kind of the run through. And to keep it simple, we'll stay with the storyline. He goes through. They come back the second day. They go back, and he gets the test, I guess. Apparently, there is a scanning booth in a corner of the Justice of the Fortress of Solitude, in which the pulsing lights are scanning him, and they kind of do a full body scan of him, and the hologram's like he's just not.
And it came back. He came back negative for COVID.
Well, but he definitely didn't. He came back with only like a slight case of Superman powers. And he's like, dude,
I probably shouldn't have said that. YouTube's probably gonna flag this video.
We are gonna get demonetized. I mean, not that I was thinking we were gonna make any money anyway, but still. His grandfather, the hologram of his grandfather, just tries to explain to him that, like, he does have Kryptonian blood in him, and he does have powers to an extent, but it's not going to be like you. Like, his body can only absorb so much yellow sun rays in order to give him his powers, which is how Superman gets his powers. He's like, but the human side of him is basically, tampering, suppressing the superpowers that he has. He's like, yeah, but he fired eye lasers. He's like, yeah, but he didn't do it on purpose, which is kind of the problem, because he could accidentally, have an ocular, a premature ocular ejaculation at any given moment, and destroy.
I was really hoping you were
something.
Going to go there.
Oh yeah, I was going there. I was going there. But and he's like, that's not going to be good for anybody. He's like, I just don't think that he's going to really be able to do what you do. And of course, Superman doesn't say anything to him. And that's where I'm like, you just fucked up. Like, you just done fucked up. You should have told the kid right off the bat, look, here's the deal. I'm Kryptonian, 100% Kryptonian. My powers come
You're
from...
only 50%.
Right, my powers come from, my 100% Kryptonian heritage. My reaction to the yellow sun gives me the powers that I have. You're half human, so you're probably only going to have half of the abilities that I have, or half the strength of the abilities that I have. I just want you to be aware of that. Like, you're not necessarily going to be able to do everything I do, or to the extent that I do it, but we're gonna get you there.
You're only gonna be half the superhero that I am.
You're only gonna be half the man that I am. But like, at least he could have been like, but we'll get you there, I'll work with you, whatever. But of course it's this ambiguous thing that they always do in TV shows where they're just like, it's not important to tell him. And of course the kid knows something's up. Like, he knows that something's wrong. He knows that, like, after that scan, his dad wasn't quite acting the same way he should have. So they go back.
But together, I bet you the other one has the other 50%. So together they make
go with the Wonder Twins.
They make one big superhero.
He's going to make a Wonder Twins reference.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think about that, but yeah, we could make a Wonder Twins reference.
Yep.
Anyway.
I hate you right now. It's always a Wonder Twins reference. But yeah, so with that being in mind...
well, Gleek is in this world, so,
The other part to the storyline dealing with the family side of things is Lois was invited to a picnic
cookout
at they're not the Lanes, but I'm gonna call them the Langs. It's Lana Lang's family. She's invited to a cookout. Lois and Clark and the boys go, and Clark gets pulled away, but Lois is left to deal with the ire of the jackass Lang husband, who just doesn't get how things work. Like, dude, you're from a small town in Nowheresville, Kansas, or wherever it is. Mm-hmm. They're from the big city and have dealt with this guy. And at that meeting, she throws in his face. She throws in Edge's face. Is like, yeah, well, you made all these promises to these other places as well. And none of that happened. Like, this place went under, that place is out of business, none of these people got the jobs. You promised 600 jobs, you provided less than 150, 200 jobs. Like, you can't come in here and give these people all this hope and then, like, pull the rug out from under them. And of course, being the smarmy businessman that Edge is, he's like, but you can't always get what you want. And by the time it was all said and done, they were all back in the palm of his hands again. So she was like, fine, I'm just going to tell everybody the truth. I'm going to write up a story that tells everybody what you really do and how it really is. And then she forgot that he's the one who edits the newspaper, apparently, because that's her boss. And he dupes her and changes her entire story and turns it into a puff piece about him going to Smallville and creating
let me tell you, this had shades for me of Superman 4. Because, as you know, I just watched it this past week.
Sure.
And in it, they talk about, how the newspaper industry is dying.
Right.
And this was set in the 80s. This movie was made in 87.
Right.
But, so this new editor, or the new owner comes in, he's like, he wants headlines that are over the top and just eye-catching. They don't want to spit out the truth.
If it bleeds, it leads.
which is kind of weird hearing in 2021 now.
Right.
But on Superman and Lois, one of the things he talks about is the online presence. So it just had me thinking back to Superman 4.
Yeah.
And how maybe they pull a little bit of that in there and kind of work that into this storyline, which it's perfect. It really does.
The funny part is when she walks in to challenge him, everybody in the, like, what they call the bullpen, where all the writers and everybody are, and her actual editor, as she's walking by, he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know he did it. Like, they looked at her like, oh, she's going to kill everybody in the building. And they're all like, we're sorry, we didn't know. I didn't know he did that. And she walks in and she's like, this is the greatest thing I've ever written. He's like, you rewrote my story. He's like, I edited it. And she's like, oh, okay. He's like, well, here. And she throws down a note on the table, and he's like, what's this? She's like, this is the greatest thing I've ever written. And she walks out. So, I mean, I saw it coming. There was no way she was going to continue to be working at the planet and being in Smallville, even though she can get back and forth in a moment's notice if she needs to, because she's got the Superman Express to get back and forth. But I just I didn't see that lasting. And obviously with the little girl that was at the city meeting was like, "Oh my God, you're Lois Lane. I love you. And if you ever want to write anything for the Smallville Gazette, feel free. There's no problem."
You knew that was coming.
So as soon as she said that, I was like, "Oh, there's gonna be a blowout. She's gonna quit. She's gonna go take over the debt, which he has no control over. She's gonna rewrite the exact same story and put it out there so that people can really see what she wrote. And then she's gonna end up taking on." The Smallville Gazette is going to take on the Daily Planet, or whatever the hell. Is it the Daily Planet?
Yep.
Yeah, he's going to take on the Daily Planet somehow with one writer and an editor, janitor, and housekeeper. Which I thought was a pretty funny line, too. So, the boys, obviously, Jonathan.
Well, we already covered them.
Well, I forgot one thing about Jonathan, though. Jonathan hits the football field. He's talking to the coach. He's like, "Coach, put me in. I'm ready to go." And the coach is like, "Coach is like, yeah, but you got to wait. You got to pay your dues. You can't just jump in and be the superstar." And he's like, "I want to do it." So he goes in. He knows all the plays, which I thought was pretty impressive considering he only got the playbook right before practice, but he already had the plays memorized.
To be fair, he did say it was an easy playbook.
Well, yeah, that wasn't exactly a good thing to say.
If it's
either.
Anything like this one high school that I saw play a few years ago, they had one play.
Yeah. Well,
they had two plays: run it to the right or run it to the left.
You don't walk up to a coach who writes those plays and be like, "Yeah, your playbook is fucking ass," because that's not going to get you very far. Like, you don't do that. You walk and be like, "Yeah, it's a great playbook, coach. It took me a while to figure it out," even though he read it right before practice and memorized it. But he gets out on the field, he knows the plays, he tries to run the plays, but the rest of the team decides to run him over, and he pays for his brother's indiscretions once again. Because
that's pretty smart thing to do with your teammate.
Yeah, with your possible quarterback,
future quarterback. Yeah.
Right. So, which I'm not sure, the kid that broke his arm, was that their quarterback? I feel like that was probably their quarterback, because the one kid broke his arm in the explosion. They said one kid broke his arm, so I have a feeling that that's their quarterback. And they're like, "Yeah, we already have because
they kept saying, he keeps saying they already have one,
right?" But he wasn't playing. Like, they had a quarterback.
Well, they had one in the practice before,
but that would have been probably the second string. So I think he's going to come in and take that kid's position, and that's going to cause even more strife. But it's a good high school storyline. I mean, it is what it is. It's what we've seen in every other WB or CW storyline, but it's going pretty well. That brings us to the final storyline, which is
Captain Luthor. Captain Luthor, and we are not going to call him Lex Luthor or Lex or Sexy Lexi.
We don't know that he's Lex yet.
No, we do not. We only know he's Captain Luthor.
Right.
So, he eventually shows up at the base that Lois's dad is at.
Right.
And while the guards try to shoot him, he ends up
taking them out,
basically deflecting all their bullets.
Yeah.
You know what this made me think of was it Injustice that he had the robot suit?
Yes.
Oh no. Luthor, maybe he did.
Yeah, in Injustice, the fighting game, Luthor has a mech suit. He also has one in the comic books also.
He also had one in Lego Batman.
Not
the movie, the video game.
That is kryptonite powered, so that Superman can't destroy it.
Yeah.
Which, in this storyline, like you said, he shows up at Lex's.
He shows up at Lois's dad at the base they're at. And it turns out the reason he's there is because he's looking for kryptonite,
right,
so he can take down Superman. Well, this base happens to have most of it.
Right. So all the kryptonite that's fallen to Earth, General Lane has been collecting it and storing it there to protect his son-in-law from anyone using it against him. I'm like, yeah, that's why Batman collects kryptonite also.
Now, is he saying that to protect everybody, to protect Superman in case it falls into the wrong hands, or to protect himself in case Superman goes bad?
Oh no, it's definitely 100% the latter. He is collecting all of it so that he can both study it, see what he can do with it, possibly turn it into weapons of mass Superman destruction if necessary. Right now, he knows this is my son-in-law. He's about taking care of my daughter and my grandkids. He's about taking care of all the people. But at some point, if something does happen, we need a failsafe. And his failsafe is collecting all of it under the guise of protecting Superman from it so that people can't use it against him and thus use it against his family. It's a veiled excuse that I know has more to it, but Captain Luthor needs kryptonite in order to power his ship and his suit, which means someone took kryptonite, turned it into an energy source, and is using it to power the future. And this is where my crackpot theories come in, Corey. You ready? Here we go.
Oh boy.
So,
okay.
We have Captain Luthor from someplace, sometime. The problem with this is we don't know what place or what time. Is it another Earth? Is it the future of Earth Prime? We don't know. But he makes a statement that says, Kal-El destroyed his planet, which he didn't. He had nothing to do with it. He was an infant when it happened. I'm not going to let him destroy my planet, or this planet, like he destroyed mine. So we still don't know whether or not he's from a future version of Earth Prime, whether he's from a different Earth altogether, a new timeline, a different part of the multiverse, or whatever they want to call it. There's no telling where he's from. My theory is that he is from the future. He is a descendant of Lex Luthor. And the future that he's from is not too far from where they are now. They're one Flash crossover away from being from whatever Earth he's on.
Yeah.
And he's come back to, warn General Lang, that Superman is not a good person in the future. He gives him, if you noticed, it was a dog tag of sorts that had the inscrolled on it hell, but obviously if you turn it around, it becomes 7734. So we don't know.
That's a code.
And it could be that they're from Earth 7734. That could be an option. It could be a group designation. So they could be Super Group 7734 in that military. But whatever it is, the dog tag that it was on has Superman's symbol on it, which means
I think the number is some kind of code.
To what?
Like,
what's your theories of what
I don't know.
For? It's definitely not to open the vault.
Yeah, I was going to say it's maybe to open something. Maybe it's to set off some kind of rocket. I don't, or a missile. I don't know.
Well, whatever it is, that's part of the mystery to be solved. But the other part of the mystery to be solved is, why is it on the back of an emblem that has Superman's symbol on it? Which would lead me to believe that the military was under the command of their Superman. But their Superman is obviously a darker timeline Superman, like we had from Injustice, when they killed Lois and he went freaking crazy and just started murdering people. So, he uses, after he attacks the base, Superman shows up. He fights with Captain Luthor.
Hold on. I just thought of something.
Okay.
On Crisis.
Yep.
You remember Superman, they had mentioned how he had gone bad at one point. And didn't he?
Yep.
Maybe
the Brandon Routh version had a bad side.
Maybe, but I know he wasn't in this episode when they did that flashback, so this may just kill this whole idea. But maybe this Luthor was on that version, on that planet. Somehow, when everything got reverted back, he ended up on this planet instead, still thinking that that's Superman did all that, but that's not his plan anymore.
So
I don't know.
this is a question that I had myself that I'm glad that you brought it up because it's not only my crackpot brain working.
Oh, you know, mine's always thinking.
There was the crisis. The crisis changed everything. It changed where people were from, what continuity they were in. They went from being from Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 5, Earth 222 to being from Earth Prime all of a sudden because when they collided everything, all the main Arrowverse characters all became from Earth Prime. Which is where they're supposedly at now. The problem with it is what if he was not quite in... So if he's from a different time or place, and they had that whole thing where he like combined the realities and created Earth Prime, what if the Earth he was from was one of those ones, like you said, that got deleted? And if that's the case, he is still under the impression that Superman is going to destroy this world the same way he did his. But to me, he should also understand that he's not on his planet or in his time. And if something has changed to where Superman is not the way he was when he left, then he should chill the fuck out. But
unless he's got the same mentality that we've seen before, where Lex is wanting... I know this isn't the same thing, but they're just using the idea where Lex is trying to go around, and they even did it in Crisis, where he's trying to go around killing every Superman.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the same. Maybe it's the same idea.
Right.
Obviously, this cannot be the Lex Luthor from our Earth, not from Earth Prime, the Earth that we're familiar with, because that's John Cryer.
Right. Like I said, he's
nothing like him.
He's from the future. He's going to be a descendant of Lex Luthor. When he comes back, like that flashback they showed, he was a subordinate to General Lang, who was in that military with him. He knew him. He saved him when the giant explosion happened. He handed him those dog tags, which are dog tags he already had in the future. So, like, there's just so many things that make me think that wherever he's from, it's not a different, like, Earth or a different, like, timeline. He's from there, just in the future. So we'll see where it goes. But Superman, after he attacks the base, Superman gets there. He starts to go after him, starts beating the crap out of him. And in the course of that, finds out that he's not actually fighting Luthor. He's fighting a robot version of his suit, who then gives him the choice to either let him go and get away, or go get the ship that's got a bomb on it that's heading back from Metropolis. Because it could have gone anywhere, but it went straight to Metropolis. So he ends up stopping the ship, throwing it out into outer space, blowing it up. But my problem with this whole thing is, dude, if you need kryptonite to power your suit and your ship, why would you take a hunk of kryptonite and stab Superman with it? Like, that stuff's got to be just priceless for him right now. And he's going to take what he has to try to cripple or kill Superman. I mean, I guess he had to if you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, but I was just like, you're ridiculous. But he's trying to collect kryptonite at this point. I also don't understand, like, if you're from the future and you know so much, you have to know where there's more kryptonite at that the government doesn't have, so you don't have to hit so many hurdles trying to get to it. But they have to write.
Unless he's from another Earth and he's got no other option. But on this Earth they've already cleaned up most of it.
Maybe.
So maybe he doesn't have any other option. I think that hits all our points.
It's pretty much all the points to it. Like I said, this episode, I think they're going to continue to go. They are. We have 3 more episodes before they go on hiatus. When this happens, they're going to stop this show, go on hiatus, and then do the final season of Supergirl. And with that in mind, there's a couple things I think are going to happen. I have a feeling that one of the things that they're going to do is, I heard a rumor that there's going to be another Supergirl. They're going to somehow recast or redo Supergirl. And this is my theory for that. If they're going to do that, if they're getting rid of the current Kara Danvers and they're going to bring in another Kara Danvers or another Supergirl, I feel like what's going to happen is that Supergirl or that Carol Danvers or whatever she ends up being, maybe even Power Girl, that's a whole other story. But they could do that by saying that she's from Luthor's time and world. So she comes from the future, from wherever Luthor came from. She comes back knowing that Luthor's trying to destroy Superman in the past or on this planet, wanting to save him because it's her cousin after all. And she comes in, steps in, and does that. That's how they introduce another Supergirl in the storyline without having to have her as part of the story. So we know she's there. We know she exists. They can bring her in when they need to use her, but they don't have to use the same Carol Danvers. And they can change Danvers, and they can change up how they do it. So that's
all
my
right.
theory.
I'll piggyback off of that, and the fact that Supergirl's show is no longer on the air, they don't have to worry about people being confused. Well, wait a minute. Why are we dealing with two Supergirls here?
Right.
Or just to get rid of all the confusion. You might be onto something. Obviously we don't know. We'll find out soon.
Yep.
And so I guess we're just going to end it here. So on behalf of Vic,
that's me.
I'm Corey. Thanks for listening, and thanks for watching too. We'll talk to you next time.
See ya.